Going live. And we should be excellent. We are live. Hello, everybody. Hopefully those that were looking, oh, here's a message. Now I'm just going to type, hey, John, come check us out now. Great. Okay, guys. So everybody should be on. Leon, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Great. All right. Let me just minimize this screen and the power of technology. There's everybody. Yeah. All right. Great. All right, guys. So good evening, everyone. My name is Lorenzo Murray with your home team at Hunt Real Estate. And once again, I'm on our page. I've corralled, I've strong-armed some professionals in the capital region to join me tonight, just to have some conversation laid back about a problem that I think we may have the solution to, or a possible solution, and be able to help you out. So that is the home renovation loan or home renovation loan types. There are a couple that are out there, and we're going to get into that. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this is one, I've had clients use this. Shout out to John Yell, who's hopping on right now. He did a home renovation loan. He actually took on 2 buildings, which were 2 buildings on one lot. It was a 4-unit, 2 units in each building. And he did some really cool things there that I thought was different. And he's starting to see the cash flow return on investment for himself. And I've done a couple others with a few other clients that I just thought that the renovations came out great. And, you know, I want to dismiss the myth. I want to talk about what they are, what we can do, how we can think outside the box. And without further ado, let's get into introduction of these fine professionals that are on the screen. So we're going to start with you, Susan, and then we'll just go clockwise.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Susan Wheeler. I am the owner and lead designer at Wheelhouse Designs. It is my own company. I've been running for 3 years. I've been in the design world for, since 2001. And I specialize in kitchens, bathrooms, excuse me, closets, organized storage like laundry rooms, mudrooms, pantries, really everything in between.
Susan, thank you so much for coming. Leon.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Leon Robinson, owner and manager of Robinson Contracting Construction. Been in business for myself now for 2 years. Been working directly with the 203K loans and the lenders for almost a year now. The process I enjoy, most contractors don't like for their own reasoning. My team, we actually prefer those projects. So, you know, I'm thankful to be here. Thanks, Lorenzo, for having us. And yeah, that's who I am.
Excellent. Thanks, Leon. Appreciate it. Jason.
I'm Jason Federico. I'm with Bald Eagle Inspection Services. Like we discussed earlier, I've got multiple licenses and certifications. I'm a licensed home inspector. I'm a licensed mold assessor. I'm licensed in asbestos. I'm licensed for indoor air quality. And most importantly, I'm licensed for 203K inspections. I've been doing them for a long time. I've done them as a contractor. I now do them as a consultant. I've got over probably 20 years of experience with 203Ks in some form or another. If you're looking for one of those, I'd be the guy that you'd probably be leaning on for questions and answers and to help you get through it.
Jason, we haven't worked together, but I have a feeling we'll be working together in the near future just because this is something that is well needed. So thanks for joining us tonight. And Mel.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mel Mayus. I am with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. I found a niche for renovation loans when I started my mortgage career 4 years ago. Really dealing with the 203Ks, Fannie Mae home style loans. So I thank you, Lorenzo, for having me. Looking forward to discuss rehabs.
So thanks, guys. I truly appreciate you guys coming on. So here's the situation, right? We've out there of actual homes available, right? The national average is sitting at or about right now, presently about 3 months of inventory on hand. And in the capital region, we're somewhere in between 2 to 3 months. So we are actually bucking that trend. Some could look at that as a good thing. Some could look at that as a opportunity for us to kind of think outside the box. And you know what I find is I have a group of buyers that are like, hey, I love a good fight. You know what? Let's go out here. Let's drop 50, 60, 100K over ask because I want that house. And then I've got others who are like, no, I'm not doing that. Either I don't want to do that or I don't have the ability to do that. And that's perfectly fine. So what do? Do you stop looking? Do you not take advantage of the incredible mortgage rates that we have? Or do we figure out a way to kind of have our cake and eat it too? So the reason for tonight's session is really to kind of think about how do we have our cake and eat it too? And what can we do to help these buyers think outside the box? So I'm going to throw some scenarios out at you and really kind of insert how you would, how your role would fit into this and how it would play out. So we've got Susie Q. Susie Q is a first-time home buyer, right? I just pulled that out of the air.
I know, I was
Susie
like,
Q.
what?
That was just like random.
So did you give Suzanne a nickname?
Like, first grade.
She's right there. How did you pull her out the air?
So Susie Q is a first-time home buyer. She is she's an FHA buyer, right? So she is someone who needs to put some money. She has some money to put down, but she's going to have seller's concessions, right? Whole separate conversation. She's got a healthy budget. She's looking she wants to be in a specific area because, you know, for whatever reason, work, commutability, whatever the case may be. She has a budget and there's a particular type of home that she likes. You know, let's say she really likes ranches, but based upon where she's looking to live, the ranches that are turnkey, HGTV, you know, Chip and Joanna games ready, right? We all know what that looks like, right?
Lots of
That is, what's that?
Lots of shiplap.
Lots of shiplap everywhere, right? So, Jason, you get mad already? You left me, Jason? So, you know.
Out. You're talking about shiplap. I'm out.
I felt like I was kind of in the dark.
He's out, right? I'm over. Mic drop. So shiplap everywhere. They want it, but those houses are going for at they're listing for market price.
Yep.
And I just lost everybody. They're listing for market price, and what's happening is people are bidding for those homes 20, 30, 40, 50K over ask. Okay. The ranches that have the same or similar layout, but it's a dated kitchen, dated bath, it's a 1.5 bath. Susie Q really wanted a 2 full bath. What is she to do? And so I talked to her and said, hey, listen, did you talk to your lender about a renovation loan? And once you talk, what's that? Mel, what would you say to what's a renovation loan?
What's a renovation loan? So a renovation loan is a mortgage that includes your purchase and basically rolling in the renovations to the property into the mortgage. And what happens is when you close on the house, the funds for the renovations are put into an escrow account, and then you have 6 months, or you and your contractor have 6 months to do the project. There's a couple questions I'll ask you up front because there are 2 types of 203K loans. There's your limited 203K, and then there's your standard 203K. With your limited 203K, it's anything under $34,999 in renovations and just cosmetic work. A standard 203K is anything over $35,000, 35,000 or more, or if there's any structural work being done with a standard 203K. And that's when you would need a HUD consultant if you were going forward with a standard 203K. So that's where Jason would come in.
Excellent. So let's say this buyer has a budget of $300,000 all in, but this particular house is listed for $125,000 because it needs some work. It was an estate sale, but it looks pretty good. So they talk to you, Mel, and they say, hey, listen, I want to go this route. And you say, all right, you need to call a rehab consultant, and we contact Joe. So Joe, I wasn't expecting for you to be a one-stop shop, but it's sounding like you are. So we would call Bald Eagle Inspections to come out and do an inspection, and you can do the rehab consultant work. Is that correct?
Yes.
So walk us through what that looks like for that consumer.
So once the consumer, so people will typically contact the consultant at 2 points, either A, before they've even been approved for a loan, or B, once they have approval for the loan and they know how much money they're dealing with, and they've got an idea of what the renovation costs are going to be. Doesn't really matter when they contact, but the first step would be for me as a consultant to go out and visit the property, do a full inspection, identify repairs that need to be completed as per what's referred to as the minimum work standards, FHA minimum work standards. I'll gather those together. I take, photo documentation, take a whole bunch of notes, and then the next step would be for me to go back to my desk and put together an estimate for them that would show them, the scope of work per the FHA divisions, which are broken up like 1 through, I think it's 35, and how much each one of those items is going to cost them. It's a budget. It's a budgetary estimate. Once they have that document, they would then submit that to the bank for final approval on the loan, and then to escrow that money, and then they would start to take the steps to hire contractors who are going to give them estimates that may or may not meet that work write-up, but there's a final phase of massaging those numbers to make them work between the contractor and the consultant.
So as a consumer, do I tell you when you're there doing the inspection, at what point do I tell you what I want in a home?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I've been doing these for a very long time, and anybody who's done them knows that there's the book and what the book says needs to be done, and then there's what really needs to be done. The book, sometimes, it's written by a bureaucratic government, and sometimes it's not always done perfectly. So, one of the things we try to do is determine, which items actually need to be done per the FHA requirements. I break out my work plan into 3 categories that you're not going to find in the book. Required items, those are FHA required items per the minimum work standards. Recommended items, because as a consultant, I may find things that aren't in the book that aren't requirements that you really should do. And then the third category would be what I call CD items, or client desirable items. They're not in the book. They don't need to be done. They're the first things that get cut out of the budget when you don't have enough money to work with. So that's how we identify those items and try to meet the client's real desires. Because they may not necessarily want to do what's in the book. They want to do what they want to do.
Right.
So
Susie Q wants a brand new kitchen with a limousine style island, like that's just crazy long, and they want subway tiles all the way around, right?
Yeah.
And they want brand new cabinets, and then they want a walk-in shower with a seat, and then they want the jacuzzi hot tub in their bathroom. So Susie Q has a huge vision about what she wants, but we got to make sure that everything lines up, and that's what your role is. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and then you find out they only have a $20,000 budget.
Right.
Well, thanks for the time, folks. This conversation's over.
Might as well-
Just the peel and
might
paint. Just the peel and paint.
You might as well do the repairs as time goes on. Get in the property and just slow cook it. You know,
There you
that
go.
budget.
There you go. I totally get it. No, you're absolutely right. We do have to be realistic here, and I think that's important. We joke, but it's super important that we are realistic here. So we need to look at comps. We need to make sure that the property needs to appraise for what amount, Mel? What's the
It's
appraisal?
actually, the cool thing is with the 203K, it's based on the after improved value. So when the appraiser goes in, he's going to be looking at the SOAR and the estimates, and it's going to state, he's going to say, all right, here's a broken window, but I see it's being fixed with, a brand new, expensive type of window, and he's going to value that. And then when the value comes in, it's based on after everything was actually done, which is great.
Which is referred to as an FHA conversion appraisal, correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Excellent. So now we're going to what's next. Next is I've met with Jason. You mentioned the word contractor, and so Susie Q. I'm going to tell Susie Q. Hey, listen, you can call Leon from Robinson Contracting, but he's going to ask you, what do you want? And so it's going to probably be in your best interest that before you get Leon involved, you might want to meet with Susan Wheeler from Wheelhouse Design so that you have an understanding as to what you're gunning for. Susan, would you prefer Susie Q to meet with you first before meeting with the contractor, or vice versa?
I would say probably first, because the material selection, it's a big part of the budget, and we would have to know where we're shopping for stuff. So kind of to put it plainly, is this a Home Depot fix? Is this a custom cabinetry fix? If we're talking about a kitchen, what level of tile? If we're doing a walk-in shower, how are we doing that? And we really need to know kind of what that budget is, because at least double or triple of what the material cost is your contracting cost. So we just need it. It's something that kind of happens like this. And Leon, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like, okay, the client wants this, but we have to look at how much the labor is going to cost to do that. So how do we get a similar look for less labor? And I work very, very closely with my contractors and my homeowners. It's a partnership, it's a collaboration, and there's a lot of
1000%.
going back and forth of, okay, I can get you this look. We don't need to spend, $20 a square foot for tile when we can get the same exact look for $289, a
Yep.
square foot. So,
And just to add to that, with Susan, that makes the process a lot smoother for the bank, with them going to Susan first, then to Leon, because the way the estimate has to be broken down, between labor and materials. And
Yes.
specifically, the materials have to be described of what materials being bought. So if it's granite or marble or tile, that stuff is
Yeah.
so it going to Suzanne first. So when it goes to Leon, and he can include that rate on the estimate up front rather than having to come back and rewrite it up.
and once the materials are selected, then Leon knows what has to be done on the job to get that. I'm just going to say a cabinet. What's the difference between installing this cabinet versus this cabinet, or this type of countertop, or this type of sink? Certain selections require more labor. And that's when I would have those conversations with Leon. The way that I work is I have design meetings and contractor meetings with the contractor all by myself, with, like, hey, this is the direction that we're heading. What do you suggest in your estimation? You've been doing this for years. What is a way to get this particular look for this client without it taking 50 hours? Something could take 10 hours worth of 50, so what are those things? So I really do protect my clients, budget, and really work very closely with the contractor, because I'm not going to design something that costs, it's so many hours to put in when we can get the same look for something that doesn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, you know, Mel said it best in the beginning. People don't do this route because they're scared. You know, people don't have a financial planner because they think financial planners are for rich people. People don't call, you know, kitchen and bath designers because they think that they have to be a millionaire in order to afford a kitchen and bath designer. You know, it's amazing that you know, because we watch HGTV, right? Because we watch so much television, we have this mindset that you have to be wealthy in order to utilize these services, and you do not.
Yes.
You do
No.
not. You just have to be sensible and practical, and have people that have your best interest at heart.
You spend your budget properly and wisely and not foolishly. And you know, I like to get things, you know, a nice look for less anytime I can too. You know,
Right.
so how do we do that without
Right.
sacrificing quality? You know,
Right.
that's too. It's like, is it going to look great, but you have to replace it in 5 years? Those that's where I can make those recommendations. I can say, okay, you really need to make sure that you're putting in good plumbing, because down the road, you know, you're going to save on that plumbing bill. You know, that something you have a leak somewhere. So that's where you really need to put your money. But tile, you know, we can make it look fantastic and just lay it out a little differently.
There you go.
Really, you know, be very conscious of that, the budget.
So we get our plans from Susie Q gets her plans from Susan. Leon, you know, Susie Q, I introduce her to you. She understands that you're familiar with the rehab process. You then take those plans and what are you going over with that client?
So basically, with us, we have to be. It's one thing about the 203K loans that I experienced is you have to be hands-on with the clients. The communication is important. Everything goes hand in hand. Like everything we provide, all the services we provide from the realtor, from the lender, from the designer, even a rehab consultant, right? All of us go hand in hand. So when let's just go back to the consultant. Now the consultant draws up things. The client will reach out to us. We'll go take a look at it. We'll come up with our scope. Typically the consultant, if you have a good consultant, the numbers are they're very close. They're very
You
close.
to say something, yeah.
Honestly, the consultant, if the consultant, those numbers are very compatible. And then again, we have to be transparent with the clients as well, right? So now it's like, okay, well, these numbers are these. We can work with these numbers, right? Now we have to communicate with the client. Listen, let's give an example. You say a kitchen and bath. You say we doing a full kitchen. A full kitchen. There could be a consultant. A consultant could draw something up where it's like, you know, gut out and redo maybe, let's say 15,000, right? So now, and typically, you know, those numbers depending on the standard on what type of kitchen you would like. Numbers are kind of accurate. So we'll have the conversation with the client. Listen, you know, your material costs for this project will be around, give or take. Typically I'll allow the client to pick and choose what they would like, but that's when we have to communicate, and I'll let the client know, well, you know, this, those sort of cabinets is going to cut into your labor. You know, those we gotta communicate and make sure it makes sense. Otherwise, it's not going to make sense for the contractors. It's not gonna, it won't make sense. So everything goes hand in hand. The communication is very important. I personally like these loans because it's so systematic. It's a great breakdown on everything. Working with the consultant, it kind of helps us.
Yeah.
In a nutshell as well. You know, the consultant, they know what they're looking for 9 times out of 10. Like, you know, our consultant that's online with us now would say, like, he's been doing it prior. So he knows exactly the ballpark if we're gonna repair a roof, if we're gonna remove plumbing, if a client may want a shower to be on the other side of the bathroom. You know, if you understand that and getting the architect involved, you know, and it's all a communication thing. So, you know, the itemized breakdown that a consultant would do, me personally, my company, that's what I would do, right? So when I'm drawing up sales quotes, I'm going to be specific. There's an itemized sales quote. So if we're gonna do your living room, I'm gonna give you a scope of work for your living room, right? So if that entails ripping up carpet, installing new LTV, painting the walls,
What's
painting trim,
LTV? What's LTV?
LTV is the click lock floor, and the waterproof is very common. It's very popular nowadays. A lot of people like to use it. I use it if I don't got hardwood in my properties. It's a great style of flooring. Decent budget, right? So even if we was doing a flooring, just to throw a number out there again, right?
No
You say for two.
Don't throw any numbers, because
Okay.
I think they're different. I think they're going to be different buyers that see this, and they're
True.
going to be all over the place. So I
Okay.
I
So
want
no
to just kind of
numbers.
keep it vague, but I think that it is
Okay.
important to know that the communication is key, because numbers matter. They matter a lot.
The communication is very important. So, again, back to the consultant. When the consultant draws up his sales quote, I haven't experienced one that was like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Honestly, I haven't experienced that yet. Numbers may be a little off, but for the most part, they're pretty accurate. I honestly appreciate working with them, and sometimes, even working with Mel's lenders, we got something going now. It's like 9 times out of 10, they actually stamp their lenders, or not the lenders, the consultants, like, well, our consultant is saying this, so it's important that, we communicate and be hands-on, even if it's not a verbal communication. It's just a understanding communication sort of thing, like, all right, well, if the consultant is saying this, maybe we can, be flexible in that area, right? Like,
Once you've provided the quote, once you've written everything up and you've provided that quote, what do we do? Hand that back over to you, Mel?
Yep.
So,
yes.
so everybody has now touched it. Susan's been involved. Jason's been involved. Leon's been involved. I've handed those quotes over to you, or that buyer, Susie Q, has handed those quotes over to you, Mel.
Yeah.
And what do you do with those quotes then, Mel?
So the great thing is, the company I'm with now, I have my own renovation team. So they have a team that focuses just on the renovations. They deal with the contractor. They're working with Leon right now in terms of him being an approved contractor with our bank, so he can do all my 203Ks, I think we have another one coming down the pipeline too. So
We do. And I went there. I went too.
See, so it's great to have people that do 203Ks, because it makes it streamlines way better, because everyone has a knowledge of what needs to happen. But the estimates will go to the rental team. They will review to make sure everything's accurate, everything lines up, everything matches what the HUD consultant SOAR report says. And then once that happens, we can order the appraisal, because the appraiser needs the full package to go out to the property. Because again, it's based on the after approved value.
Excellent. So appraiser goes, for the sake of time, everything comes back and everything jives right. Then what, Mel?
Well, I just want to say, if everything doesn't jive right, real quick, it has to get fixed. So if appraiser for some reason finds something that no one saw, because you come across some interesting appraisers in the day, they will have to go back to either the HUD consultant, well, both of them parties, so they can update the SOAR and the estimate to reflect what the appraiser needs added to approve the appraiser.
And so, Jason, you've seen that before, I take it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we get things, we derail for a moment, but we get back on track. And then what?
So after that, the borrower conditions will be happening simultaneously. So if there's any, after the approval, if there's any conditions that have to come in terms of the borrower, which means conditions mean basically additional documentation that the underwriter needs just to finalize the loan and clear it to close. So as long as all the conditions are in, all the reno conditions are in, contractor, has all his paperwork in, then we can clear the file to close. And once we close is when the project starts, and they have a 6-month period to finish the project. Now, there will be a disbursements through that period of time to the contractor, depending on the amount of work being done.
So loan file clears, right? You can get a 203K rehab loan done. If everything goes well, if you've got this dream team in place, you could get that loan cleared. And how quickly could you get it done, realistically?
To be realistic, just to be on the safe side, I would say 60 days.
60 days. So we'll call it 2 months. Let's call it 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Gets done in,
And with that being said, I never worked. I am at a newer company. In this rental team, I'm experienced myself and seeing how efficient it is. But now having the contractor who's actually already approved and has that relationship with rental team, I can foresee that 60 days being faster.
got it. Okay. So 2 to 2.5 months or sooner.
Mhm.
We're closed. I'm now the owner of this home. That is not the way I want it to be. It's in the before stage. What do I do next? Who do I call? The contractor to get to work?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was like, are you talking to me? No, you would definitely the contractor, but they'll probably already have a date set for the work to start. Because all that the closing date, they'll be aware of the closing date. And then again, the funds will be dispersed. So that will be a communication between the contractor and the bank as well.
So Susan, I've already, or should I say Susie Q has already spoken to you. She's got her plan. She knows what she wants. You've laid them out. You've communicated with Leon. You and Leon are on the same page as far as parts and as far as as far as parts are concerned and what needs to be involved. Leon now has the plans of what needs to execute. Susie Q calls Leon and says, yeah, it's go time. Let's get the work started. Jason, when do we see you again?
Well, I'm not one of those consultants that disappears. So my clients typically call me all throughout the process. I'm on the phone with them. I spend a lot of time on the phone with people.
Okay.
Technically, the next time I would be required would be to issue a draw.
Yep.
Yes.
Contractor's ready to get paid. Everybody wants their money. The client would, first thing that technically should happen is the client should deal with the contractor. The contractor is going to fill out column C on the draw, which means column C references the amount of money that the contractor feels they should be paid. The client and the contractor will go through that, make sure it's fair between the both of them, and then that would get delivered to me. I would review it, put it together with a package, go out to the site, verify the work's been done, finalize the draw with photographs, send that back to the client. Client will sign it, contractor will sign it, they'll send it back into Mel, and then Mel would be approving that document for payment.
Kitchen one draw, the bathroom another draw. Like, how are the draws broken up?
So typically the way I break out draws on any project, I always tell people, from the beginning, people want to know, what's this going to cost? Okay. And part of that cost is the draw inspections. They cost $350 each. Okay. That's what it's going to cost to have a consultant come back out and verify the work has been done. So I usually break them out into 2 draws. I tell people $700. Usually, anything that I've dealt with takes 2. There are some circumstances where contractors want to get paid like weekly, which in my opinion is a little too soon for draws. But I usually try to break them out into 2 draws, one in the middle and then one at the end. With most projects that are under $100,000, quicker moving projects, maybe they're like 2 months, 2-month scope or project schedule. Most contractors can deal with those. It's also very important that when people pick their contractors, they make sure that the contractor knows what this is. Mm-hmm. It's a 203K. This isn't like, I'm going over to Susie Q's house and I'm going to fix some stuff up and she's going to pay me when I'm done. There's a process here. It's one of the biggest mistakes that clients make. They go and I got all my contractors. They hire their contractors. They start to get into the process and the contractor goes, wait, when am I getting paid? Right. And then they walk at the 11th hour and it just really screws up the process. So you have to make sure you've got the right contractors. They know what they're getting into. It's even better if they have experience. You can ask Mel at the bank who to call. You can ask your consultant who to call. Sometimes the agent knows who to call. But you just don't want to go, Googling contractors and getting prices from anybody. You want to make sure you got the right people.
There you go. I think it's key to know that your uncle can't do this. You can't do this yourself. right? You've got it.
The contractor has to do it. The plumber and electrician have to be licensed. The contractors, it does not, if they're not doing any plumbing or electrician work in New York State.
In the 203K program, just so you guys know, the 203K program, you can self-perform work, okay? I've got an answers at HUD.gov response on this. Homeowners can do the work themselves. However, that work can only be completed at the end of the project when all of the contractor's work is completed. And you can put those funds into the program. Got a response directly from HUD on that. So a lot of people don't realize that, but you can put self-performed work into the program at the end of the work, as long as the contractor is completed with their work.
So Mel, is that something that you find that lenders will probably have pushback on?
Yes, right now, especially with the COVID scenario, lenders are actually just starting to kind of get into 203Ks, because what the issue was investors weren't really buying them due to the everything going on with COVID in the market. Now, with that being said, I believe it probably is particularly to certain banks. Previous bank I came with, if there were any additional, if there were any additional funds left over, it could either be applied to principal, or it could be go back to review for any additional work. But with the FHA 203K, that specific lender, and I believe the lender I'm with now, because this is my first time actually hearing this, I'm not sure if we will allow. I know conventionally Fannie Mae, if the person has a trade in that work, they will allow do-it-yourself work.
I'm actually glad.
Best to check with your lender then.
Yeah, I think it might be lender specific, because my previous company, I know for sure FHA, there was no work allowed.
I'm glad you said that, because, and I do tell my clients this, even though there's a handbook and there's a written law as far as the FHA is concerned, every single bank handles these differently.
Very much.
Some banks will let you do certain things. Some banks won't let you do certain things. Even with a streamline, technically you do not need to have a consultant for a streamline, but I'm finding that a lot of banks now, regardless if it's a streamline under 35,000, they want a consultant involved.
Mm-hmm.
People will go to the FHA handbook and they'll say, well, the book says I don't need a consultant for that. Well, the bank says, if the bank's giving you the money, you're doing what the bank tells you they want. You got to follow their rules.
Yeah.
And some banks don't let people self-perform work. Some banks have let people self-perform work.
Mm-hmm.
As far as FHA is concerned, or the HUD, they will allow clients to self-perform the work, but they want them to do it after all the contract work is complete. Some banks will say, no, we don't want you doing that.
Now, how many rehab loans are there that you know of, and what does your company offer?
So we have the 203K, the standard limited, and then your Fannie Mae home style. And then we actually have a really niche renovation loan. We have the VA renovation loan, which a lot of banks don't offer. The thing right now, again, back to the COVID thing, right now it's not being offered, but it is something that we do offer when we kind of get back into that market, when things kind of get back to normal market wise. But that is a loan. It's basically it's very confusing, which I'll speak more specifically with the borrower, but it's basically under the Sunny Mae loan in a way.
Yeah. Is it considered a conventional loan then?
No.
Okay. All right. Mel, if I have more questions, how do I contact you about financing options and whether or not this is something that works for me?
I'll definitely put my email and my contact information in the comment section. But you can definitely reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm all over social media. And again, I'll put my contact information down below. Say it again.
I've never seen you before on social media.
You're blind, man. Put your glasses on.
Awesome. What's your cell phone number, Mel?
It's 518-697-9570. That is my cell, so you can feel free to text me, call me with any questions in regards to the renovation loan or any type of financing.
Excellent, thank you. Susan, how do we get in touch with you? I've already have referrals lined up for you, so get a hold of you.
Awesome, awesome. Easiest is to just give me a call at 518-240-1650, but you can also contact me through my website, which is wheelhousedesignsllc.com.
Excellent. Leon, how about you? How do I get a hold of you?
So same thing, you can contact us through the website at robinsoncontractingconstruction.com. You can email me at robinsoncontracting@yahoo.com. On Facebook as well, you can send me a message. My office number is 518-381-0032. We don't mind coming out, doing walkthroughs and giving estimates for any projects you guys are looking to do. Yeah, that's the best way to contact me.
Excellent. Thank you. And Jason, how do we get a hold of you, sir?
Honestly, probably the best way to get a hold of me would be to go directly to my website, which is www.baldeagle, like the bird, .biz, and that's B-I-Z like zebra. So www.baldeagle.biz. You can find my phone number there, but in case you need it right now, it's 518-488-2538. My website has request forms right there. As soon as you hit the homepage, I've got request forms there for all of my services.
Excellent. Guys, is there anything that you guys have that you want to add? One last final tip before we leave? Anyone?
Invest.
The most important thing, the best advice I can give somebody when somebody asks me, what do I need to know about a 203K? Make sure you have the right people, from the real estate agent to the consultant to the people doing the work to the people doing the loans, the bank. If you don't have the right people, it isn't going to work. You got to have the right people.
Well said.
Yeah. I guess I'll add, I agree with that 100%.
Sure.
Once you have the right people, you basically have a cookie cutter template to make this happen in the most efficient way possible. But to add to what Leon said about investing, with this 203K loan, you can buy a single to a 4 family with just 3.5% down still with the renovation loan. So for those that want to be investors and own property and old multifamilies, you can definitely do it still with the renovation loan with your FHA.
Okay. And Miss Susan, final tip.
Susie Q designer over here.
Susie Q.
And Lorenzo, it goes back to what you were saying, if there's somebody out there, who finds the right house, but it just doesn't look like their home, that's what I do. I help people turn those little square boxes into their home, and how does it reflect them? And I work very closely, with them to help bring that, vision to fruition. That's what we all want. We want our house to be like home and represent us.
Well said. Well said. I love doing these loans. That's why I wanted to do this. I've been wanting to do this for the longest. I may have you guys come back maybe in 6 months to see how things are going. But it pains me to see someone who really wants to be a homeowner, and they just don't know. They only know one way, and that one way is to go out here and compete. And as I was saying to Mel offline, the definition of insanity, right, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Sometimes you just got to stop, measure, monitor, and adjust, and just look at things from a different perspective and say, okay, how do I make this happen? And sometimes it's not new construction. Sometimes it's not just going and buying somebody else's vision of what turnkey looks like. It's creating your own. And I agree with every single one of you. You got to invest. You've got to have the right people. You've got to be able to feel comfortable to just reach out and connect. It's so important. So best way to reach me is my cell phone, 617-212-7290. You can text me, call me, email me, whatever works for you works for me. And Lorenzo Murray at Your Home Team. Leon, Susan, Mel, Jason, guys, thank you so much for devoting some of your time this evening. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I look forward to speaking with you guys soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.